I'm sure I don't have to tell you that dealing with an avoidant ex can be really, really hard. All you want is closeness, and it feels like they're just trying to run away from you every chance they get. But it doesn't have to be this way. So let's talk about it. I'm Brad Browning, of course, author of the X Factor 2.0 and YouTube's #1 trusted breakup coach for the past 14 years. And in that time, I've dealt with every breakup scenario that you can possibly think of, and some that would seriously shock you. And I found that while an avoidant ex can be difficult, there really are ways that you can break through their barriers and reach them so that you can get that second chance. In fact, and this is the good news for you, avoidant exes are actually far more likely to come back than your average ex is. And that may actually surprise you because there's something that nearly everybody gets wrong about avoidance. But to understand that, we need to first just go over the basics of what it means to be avoidant, and that of course means we need to talk briefly about attachment styles. Now don't worry, I'm not going to go too deep into it here. I actually made a whole video on this topic in the past, but I'll link up in the pop-up here and in the description below. But really, what you need to know is that avoidant is one of the 4 attachment styles. Now, everyone on earth has an attachment style, and that style determines, the way that you create attachment to other people, whether it's, romantic, platonic, family, whatever. So if you're connecting with another person on a deeper level, your attachment style is going to come into play and determine how you interact with this person. Now, there's 4 attachment styles: secure, disorganized, anxious, and avoidant. And for our purposes, we really only need to worry about the last 2. Now, if you are watching this video, chances are you have an anxious attachment style and your ex is likely avoidant. This is a very common pattern in relationships and in breakups. Now, what this dictates is how you respond when it comes to moments of connection or disconnection in your relationship. So I'm talking, like one of you says, "I love you," or you sleep together for the first time. Those would be moments of connection. And then there are moments of disconnection. One of you doesn't reply to a text from the other, you have a fight, you forget their middle name. Basically, you experience a moment that causes a change in the status quo of the relationship. Now, this can feel, destabilizing, even if it's something good. So how do you respond to this? Well, someone with an anxious attachment style will try to get closer to their partner after something like this. So they'll say, "Oh, they didn't text me back. They don't like me. I need to reach out to them again and pull them closer to me." Now, on the other hand, the avoidant person will actually do the exact opposite. They'll say, "Oh, they didn't respond to my text. Maybe they don't like me. I'm going to give them a lot of space and just do my own thing. I'll distance myself so I don't get hurt." Now, you see that both people are having the same experience here, but they're just taking different approaches to safeguarding their emotions. All right, now let's talk about some of the hallmarks of avoidance, just so we kind of know what we're talking about here. So firstly, avoidants really value their own independence, and they tend to have, fewer friends and fewer connections. They sometimes struggle to make connections with other people just because of their tendency to withdraw socially. And during conflict, they may stonewall you or give you the silent treatment. And of course, this can be extremely difficult to deal with during and after a breakup, as I'm sure you probably know. And even if, they don't outright stonewall, then they'll tend to avoid conflict by just, changing the subject or minimizing it. Or they might even tell you, what you want to hear just to end the conversation. And another hallmark of avoidance is that they're going to run for the door at the first sign of conflict or commitment. Now, hearing all this, you may think that avoidants just don't want closeness and intimacy with another person. That they want to be left alone and all you're doing is providing them a momentary distraction from the solitary life that they've chosen. But this is actually wrong. Avoidants do want that closeness and intimacy the same as any other person does, and even more so in some cases. And this is what a lot of people get wrong about avoidance. They think that they're all lone wolves or something like that. But really, they do want love and affection. They just don't always respond to it in the best way when they actually experience it, because it scares them. In fact, a lot of the time when you feel like they don't care at all because they're, shutting you out, they're really sitting there kicking themselves because they feel unable to connect with you in that moment. They want to just hold you so bad, but it's like there's just a wall they can't get over. So don't think that your avoidant ex is totally over you. Chances are they miss you and they love you, they just don't know how to show it. Because the truth is, they feel threatened by closeness. They lack the emotional tools to deal with it, and so it feels overwhelming and destabilizing. And that's why I say that most avoidants do come back even more often than other attachment styles. Because often the reason that they leave in the first place isn't about any real issue in the relationship. Not really. I'm sure that they seem to have a good reason at the time, but what's really happening is that they're just making an excuse to just get that distance from you. They think they need that distance to feel comfortable and safe, but when they do get it, they realize that's not what they wanted at all. And that's the point where they're going to start to miss you, and eventually they'll come sniffing around hoping for another chance. Now, does that mean they're just, waiting for you to call and they'll come running and jump back into your arms? Well, no, that's definitely not the solution here. In fact, even though they may want you more than you think, you actually need to be more cautious and slow than you normally would because of their avoidant tendencies. I know it doesn't make a lot of sense logically, but they will still feel threatened and run for the hills if you try too hard to reconnect, because that's just the pattern that they're familiar with in relationships. So first off, as always, you know that I'm going to suggest that you go no contact for a period of time as soon as possible after the breakup. Now, you probably heard this before, but it's especially important with an avoidant ex. Because remember, they need that space, both to start to miss you and to process the breakup, but also to get that sense of safety and independence that they felt was missing in the relationship. Now, this by itself is going to go a long way to repairing what's been broken between you. You don't even need to do anything more than that in a lot of cases. Just getting some space will make them realize that they need you in their life, and they'll swallow their pride and come back to try again. But if they don't come running back, because they're stubborn or afraid to open up or whatever it is, you're going to have to make the first move yourself just to get things started. Remember, despite their rough exterior, avoidants are actually very sensitive people, so you do want to act accordingly. And, don't make any sudden movements. Basically, just take it very slow and don't demand too much of your ex right off the bat. I know you're probably ready to just jump back into that relationship, but they need to ease in so that they can keep that sense of independence that's so important to their peace of mind. And really, this advice goes from how you approach them the first time after the breakup to how you handle your first few meetings with them, right up until the point you decide to get back together and into a real relationship again. And actually, things do change a little once you're back together, but that's a topic for another video. Now, I know that you may not be used to interacting with your ex in this way. Especially if you're an anxious person, you're used to connecting more directly and more intensely. So it is going to feel, out of character for you, and so it is going to be difficult. But if you can master this, your ex is going to warm up to you, and it's going to make the whole process so much easier. So, with that in mind, don't make a lot of big asks of your ex right off the bat. If they're not ready to see you, don't push it. Just talk, have some fun together, and rebuild the relationship rather than worrying about the next steps. And alongside that, you must give them lots of space during this process. So, don't text them every day. And if they take a little while to respond, don't freak out. Remember, this doesn't mean that they're not interested. It just means that they're still feeling things out. It's really important to let them set the pace during this process. You don't want to recreate the conditions of your last relationship. Sure, you may be able to get them agree to get back together, but we're talking long term here, right? You want to set yourself up for success for the long haul. If you really want to maximize your chances of getting your ex back, I would be happy to help. I offer one-on-one coaching at breakupbrad.com/coaching. And when you sign up, I'll listen to all the gory details of your situation, and together we'll put together a plan that's tailored to your ex to ensure you can rebuild the relationship from the ground up. So go to breakupbrad.com/coaching to see my current availability and register today. I would love to hear from you soon. All right, back to it. Now, as I've said, this is a delicate process, especially when your ex is avoidant. So it's all about showing a little bit of interest and then backing away. It's like flirting. You don't want them to know that you want them 100%. You're trying to create that tension that's going to keep them wanting more. And to do that, you need to focus on shifting your own perspective. To better connect with an avoidant, you really need to address your own anxious behavior. Now, the funny thing is that anxious and avoidant couples are actually very common for a simple reason. Avoidants struggle to connect, and anxious people desperately want to connect. So avoidants will put up walls and try to back away, and anxious people will just blow right through them. So in the short term, this is going to be flattering for the avoidants who often feel like they're difficult to love. But in the long term, it ends up being unsatisfying for really both parties. The avoidant feels like they're being rushed and overwhelmed. It's like they're being asked to do more than they can handle. And then the anxious partner feels as though they're not being given enough love and just always having to ask for more, which is obviously not a very good feeling. So what we really want to do is break this cycle this time around so that you can actually have a more healthy relationship in the future. And really, since you can't change your ex, you have to modify your own behavior a bit. Now, if you have watched this far, you're already well on your way to making this happen because you'll be able to see this pattern at work. When your ex pulls away, you'll know not to chase after them. Of course, it is going to be hard sometimes. You'll need to do your best to hold on to this perspective. Look at your life from a top-down view. Remember that, this relationship isn't the only thing that matters. It's not your only source of happiness here. So whenever you find yourself obsessing over the relationship, over what your ex is thinking or feeling, and you get that clingy urge, just take a step back and breathe. That's the time to turn to other things that bring you joy in life. Your friends, your family, your hobbies. I know it's going to feel counterintuitive, but this will actually bring you closer to your ex in the long run. One thing that triggers an avoidant partner is feeling like they're the other person's sole focus. So if you can show them that you're independent and secure in your life, they're going to be more attracted to you than ever because they're not going to feel pressured. And then when you do see or talk to your ex, resist the urge to talk about the relationship, the breakup, what they're looking for, who they're dating, really anything along those lines. I know, of course, you want to know, but answering these questions is just not worth pushing your ex away. Your time is much better spent just chatting, laughing, and really reconnecting. So that's why I say, always live in the moment when you're with your ex. You can't change the past, and you don't want to get caught up in what the future holds and actually miss out on the present. And another thing to remember, don't take your ex's behavior personally. Remember that this is how they deal with everyone in a relationship. It doesn't mean that they don't like you or don't love you or want you. It's the fact that they struggle to connect that's actually keeping them away. So don't go, wow, I haven't talked to them in a few days, or, they're being so quiet, they must be over me. I should call them and see what's wrong. Try to remember that this is just a quirk of their attachment style, and if you give them a little more space, they're going to be a lot more likely to come back. Now, you have to decide if that's something you want to put up with in the long run, of course, but that again is a whole nother video. The tips that I have given you today here in this video should disrupt that dynamic of them pulling away and you chasing them, and that's going to help you both relax a little and connect more deeply. All right, that's about it. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. If you're dealing with an avoidant ex and you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments below. I love hearing from all of you guys down there. And while you're at it, like this video, subscribe, and turn on the notifications for a brand new video like this one every week. I'm Breakup Brad, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.